Is it beautiful one day, perfect the next?
It is, and it's a wombat here.
Oh, very nice. Have you had any wildlife encounters?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think no, just
Just
birds.
just in chickens.
Yeah, many birds.
Well, you'll have to explain that to our non-Australian listeners and viewers. But welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong. This is episode 99, if you can believe that. I am Josh. I'm one of the hosts of this show, this podcast, where two exes get together once a week and just talk rubbish for about 45 minutes, encompassing every topic under the sun. And the other host is a wombat in Australia.
Yeah, wonder the wombat. Hi.
No, that's actually Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean, by the way. I am so tired. It is 6:27 a.m. in Australia.
So yes, Sean's in Australia. I'm in London, and so yeah, we've had quite a to do working out the time difference and when we could record. So thank you, Sean, for getting up at the crack of dawn.
So, well, you can actually see the crack of dawn behind me, like coming up through. So
I can see
progressively,
dawn's crack.
yeah, progressively through this video, you'll see it getting lighter behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the time difference is so weird. It's like obviously like I'm in the next day from you, but
Mm-hmm.
it just is. It's to try and connect with people with this time difference is quite difficult. So, is it 9 hours ahead that I am at the moment?
Yeah, I think yeah.
And so also that would change, right? Are you on British summertime now? Is that
Mm-hmm.
so that would
Yeah,
change at other times of the
yeah.
year when you don't have
Mm-hmm.
daylight saving.
Yeah, it'll
What
be 10 hours difference because Queensland famously doesn't have daylight saving, does it?
I don't know. I can't
Pretty
remember.
sure it doesn't. It's one of the only states or territories in Australia that doesn't, I think.
What time at night is it getting dark there now? Like, when is the
Well,
sun going down?
it's still like I was walking home from the pub quiz on Thursday night, I think.
Yeah.
And it was after 10 and it wasn't light, but it wasn't dark, if you know what I mean. Like you could look up in the sky and you could still see sort of hints of daylight. Um,
Yeah.
because what is it today? It's the 13th. So we're just over a week away, 8 days away from the solstice.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting light about I think 4 in the morning. And yeah. What about Brisbane?
Well, that's the opposite. So it's starting to get dark at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
Do you remember that about living in Brisbane, about how weird it was, the shorter days here? Because you're in a warm climate and it's dark and I don't know, it's got this wintry nighttime feel by 6 p.m., but it's still
I
23.
don't really remember that. I mean, we lived in
Yeah.
Brisbane for nearly 5 years, and I actually don't remember those. I mean, I suppose because shorter days in Brisbane aren't quite like the short days in London, where it's
Mm.
like dark at 3:30 and nighttime until 8 o'clock in the morning. But
Yeah. One thing that I've not forgotten about Brisbane, but you don't appreciate it when you're not here, is it's I suppose it's winter time here. I mean, it's not the middle of winter, but it's winter time here.
mm,
And it's 22, 23 degrees. That could be
yeah,
that could be a summer day in London, and like,
well, last week in London was miserable. Like it was about 16 degrees. So
yeah.
yeah, hotter than a London summer.
So I've been at the beach, like not in the water, but I've been at the beach and it probably would have been warm enough to go in the water. And wearing shorts and t-shirt everywhere, it's not, I mean, I feel like I almost got too much sun the other day. It's so different here.
Which beach did you go to?
We went down to Wellington Point, Do you know where you walk across to that little island at low tide?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's called King's
Mhm.
Island.
Out
And
past Carindale and
yeah, so we went down there with Amy and it was so lovely. I mean, it was to me with my English mindset, like my London mindset, it was like, oh, this is a nice summer day. Like
Mhm,
that's how
mhm.
lovely it felt. But what has been happening here is torrential rain, and everyone is uh, acting like a bit shocked at how much it's raining. Apparently, it's unseasonal,
Mhm.
and it's not. It's normally more like a dry season now, but
Is it the super El Niño?
it is super El Nino, and it's torrential downpours. But when I say downpours, like we were walking in West End the other day. It's a suburb in South Brisbane, and it went from not raining, not feeling like it was going to rain, to being in a shower instantly. Like, not it started spitting a little bit, or there was a little bit of drizzle, or it was bang, just a wall of water, like
An atmospheric river, Sue.
yeah, or like what do you call that? Like Kate Bush was there doing some cloud busting. It was
I'm cloud busting, daddy.
it was just so shocking, like how quickly it happened.
Mm,
Um, but I I really like this weather. Like, I like the rain. I don't mind, it's nice to see a subtropical downpour, but
mhm,
it's just the warmth. It's like being warm. And I mean, I know that there's the reality of the other extreme in summer. Like, it's going to be like
mhm,
40 degrees or 38 degrees. But just that walking around in shorts and t-shirt and feeling free, and it's
mhm.
very nice.
It's funny you say "I like the rain" because that's actually a song by Magic Dirt, and
Yes,
I've been working today, and I was wearing this T-shirt at work, so I'm a bit like, sweaty and dirty or whatever, and I was gonna change, and then I thought, "Actually, no." So it's a Magic Dirt T-shirt for those that are listening. Um, and I was going to change, and then thought, actually, no, it's really appropriate to wear this, seeing as you are actually in Australia. But Magic Dirt, do you want to explain who Magic Dirt are? Because I suppose people outside of Australia probably would have absolutely no idea who Magic Dirt are.
and then some people in Australia would have no idea. But,
Maybe.
Magic Dirt are a rock band from I mean, would you think rock band is the best descriptor for
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
They're a rock band, from the Melbourne area of
From
Australia.
Geelong. I think they're from Geelong.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
rude to group Geelong in with Melbourne if you're talking
I,
to
th-
in but if
I
you're
think so.
I think if you're in Australia, it's maybe a bit wrong, but if you're talking to people from another country who have no
Mm.
idea, is it okay
But
to
it's
just
like I
say
think it's like I think it's like saying like I don't know. I don't know what the distances are. I think it's like saying like Chelmsford is in London, which it's definitely not, or
Chelmsford? Where the hell is
yeah,
Chelmsford?
in Essex.
Who the fuck is Madeline? Well, I yeah, but I think if you were overseas trying
Anyway,
to
just carry on with the magic dirt explanation
but I'm
because
saying, I think if you were overseas, you could get away with saying Chelmsford is near London. So
mm,
where the
near.
I said where they're from is in the Melbourne area. I think that's
Okay.
that's legitimate. But anyway,
Mm.
I don't know when they formed in the 90s, or maybe they formed in the late 80s. I don't know when they formed. Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have guessed early 90s, but I
This
could be wrong.
this is good. Asking me to give a detailed description of something without me doing any research or
Mhm. Mhm.
but the lead, singer, and I suppose is she the main songwriter of the band, or
I I I think the writing credits are equally shared, but I don't know what their process
okay.
is.
Well, her name is Adalita. She goes by one name. What do you call that when somebody has one name, like Madonna or
Um, mono. I don't know.
there is a
Uh,
term for that, isn't there?
yeah, there is,
And
but it escapes me.
and Adalita is like an incredible rock star. Like her
And
stage presence,
she's had her own solo career as well as
yeah.
work with Magic Dirt.
Her stage presence is incredible. The songs are really catchy, but they do a sort of a wider range of rock music. So they have more sort of pop melodies in some of the songs, and then some of the other songs were really grunge.
Hmm.
I think they're one of the best bands to come out of Australia.
Hmm.
Their live shows, like we've seen them a number of times. Um, how many times have we seen Magic Dirt? Do you remember the times we've seen them?
I don't remember it that well because I mean we were both drinking quite heavily in those days, so it's all a bit of a blur. Like I remember seeing them at the zoo in Brisbane. I
Mhm.
remember seeing them. Oh, I don't know. I remember seeing them in Sydney a bunch of times.
We saw them at the Metro Theatre, and then we
Metro,
also
yeah,
saw them at the Manly Surf Club or something.
Manly's Leagues Club or something.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember? Like, I was just thinking about this earlier with when I was thinking about changing my t-shirt. So we saw them at the Manly RSL or Leagues Club or whatever it was, and it was such a great show. And Sean and I were right down at the front, and we were, well, I still am a massive fan of Magic Dirt and Adalitas,
Mhm.
and we saw them in concert in Sydney, and then I think a week later we were in Melbourne and we went out to dinner. Oh, and the other thing, of course, we didn't mention about Adalita. Adalita is vegan and talks a lot about it. And one of their videos, one of their film clips to their songs, is all about animal liberation and
Mhm.
freeing animals from a testing laboratory. Um, so Sean and I were out at dinner in this vegan, or it's been a vegetarian
I think it
restaurant.
was vegetarian restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but I looked up and it was not a big restaurant and the tables were all very close together, but it was a weeknight, it wasn't that busy. And I looked up and over Sean's shoulder, I could see the door and like Adalita and Raoul, who was the guitarist from Magic Dirt, walked in and I was like, Sean, don't look now. But Adalita and Raoul from Magic Dirt have just walked in. And then he was like grinning, but trying not to turn around. And the server brought them over and sat them at a table like right next to
I
us.
mean,
And I mean, when I say
like
right next
20
to us,
20 centimeters from us.
yeah, it was like a foot away from us. And we were just like grinning at each other, like, oh
But
my God, we can't say anything.
the
Like,
rest
it
of our
was,
meal, we just sat there, like, looking at each other like stunned mullets, and I was trying not to
yeah.
listen to what they were saying, but we finished because we had been there for a while first. We finished,
Hmm.
and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna have to say something," and we were like, "Oh, we're so sorry in the middle of your dinner, but
I know,
we."
we're like literally about a foot away from them. We're like,
But
sorry.
Adalita is such a cool person. I can remember her saying, "Oh, no worries, guys. Like,
Yeah.
that's rad. You saw us in Manly. Oh, yeah. Like,
And Raoul says something like, "Oh yeah, I thought I recognized you guys" or something, which was a
I don't
lovely
know.
thing to say, but I'm
But
sure he didn't. But
but we were in
yeah.
some sort of unhinged period of our life where we were going to NRL games, and we were in Melbourne to go to a football game, and we told them,
Mm,
and we t-
that's right.
and we told them
Forgot
that,
about
and
that.
Adelaide was, go the Roosters. She's such a cool person, and
I love her.
so
Yeah.
so effortlessly funny and charming. Like she is
Hmm.
just a really, really wonderful person. But anyway,
Speak, Speaking of the Roosters, did you watch that video I sent you
I
about
didn't.
that
I
ex?
No, I didn't watch the
Go
video, but I did read the accompanying story
on.
for
Okay.
it. Well, the video, did it have an interview with this person?
Yeah.
Do you want
Yeah.
to
So
explain to
there's.
people what we're talking about?
I'd love to, except I've forgotten the guy's name.
I know his first name is
What?
Kane.
Kane, yeah. So there's an ex Roosters player. Roosters is a rugby league club in Australia, and he came out only very recently, like in the last week or so.
Yeah.
And it was just a very moving interview because the NRL is not especially
Oh,
queer
what? Can
friendly.
we just say what NRL stands for?
National Rugby League,
Yeah.
um, which is, yeah, I mean, it's just like rugby in the UK,
But
basically, or
the
similar.
popularity of it is I suppose comparable to the Premier League with football in the
Yeah,
UK, or
yeah,
the NFL or something in the US,
yeah.
and so each sort of major town has its own um, uh, clubs, but then the bigger
Mhm,
cities have multiple clubs in different parts of the
mhm,
city, and
mhm.
at the Roosters, which is I don't know, do they have a different name like the Sydney Roosters?
Yeah, I mean, they're commonly referred to as Easts, aren't they? The East, because 'cause they're like the
Yeah.
eastern suburbs
Yeah, like
club.
around Bondi and that sort of area. And
Mhm,
they have traditionally been one of the sort of superstar teams that's usually around the top of the league table. And
mhm,
so, yeah, this young man, I don't know how old he is now because he's a retired rugby league player. For part of his career, he was with this team.
mhm. Yeah, it was just a very moving. I might maybe I'll put the link in the show notes for anyone that's
Yeah.
interested. I don't, you don't have to necessarily be into the actual sport itself, but it's just very moving to hear about this individual, you know, plight and or the struggles he's had, not just with his sexuality, but mental health and homelessness and addiction.
It
And yeah, it's
what was very upsetting to me, and this is maybe a bit of a trigger warning for people if you don't want to hear um, this suicidal ideation conversation, maybe stop
mm,
listening or jump forward a few minutes. But Kane was talking he was in this interview with him. He was referring to how it was so not acceptable in his brain to be gay that there was no way that he could see going forward with his life. So his plan was to get through his rugby league career, his professional sporting career, and then end his life. Like to
yeah,
him, it was just like, that's what I'm going to do because
yeah.
there's no way that I can go forward with that. I Do you remember before you came out to people as queer or gay? Do you remember what it was like, the pressure? Did you feel a certain pressure not to be gay?
I don't, I don't know if I can really answer that question because it was such a long time ago.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know that I ever felt pressure. I was very lucky, I have friends who have been through much worse, and I have friends that actually still are not out, and
Yeah,
that's not anything to be ashamed of. Everyone is on their own, journey, for lack of a better term, and we shouldn't shame people for not being out. Um,
yeah.
but I was quite lucky in that I didn't grow up in a particularly homophobic environment. Um, and I think any shame that I did feel was probably just internalized homophobia because of what was happening in the press, things like, um, well, I was going to say the right wing press, but it wasn't just the right wing press, but, the response to the AIDS crisis
Mhm.
um, resulted in such horrible, homophobic, queerphobic rhetoric in the press. So yeah, I feel like I was quite lucky. What about you? Do you think you had
I
like
there was a lot of, yeah, a lot of feelings of I didn't think it was gonna be accepted or it was a little bit wrong. Not to the point where I denied my feelings to myself,
Mhm,
but I mean, yeah, once again, like the stigma around homosexuality or queerness at the end of the 80s or the second half of the 80s when I was coming into my sexuality or my identity more, it
mhm,
was very colored by HIV and AIDS. And also in Brisbane, where I grew up in Queensland, it was illegal to be gay.
mhm.
And I mean, it's hard to overstate how much that, shapes your perception of yourself or your self
God,
identity.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
so living through, adverts on television about AIDS and, there was, I don't know, I'm sure you had it in the UK, but there was that famous TV ad where the Grim Reaper was bowling and the bowling ball was going down and knocking random people over and killing them.
I
And
don't know if we had that. I don't
and
remember it.
and the idea was like AIDS is so random. You have to be vigilant because AIDS. I mean, to be fair, those early ads didn't target gay people. They weren't like homosexuals. This is only your concern. It was
The
no.
media, though, the media was absolutely
Oh yeah,
vile. Yeah.
yeah. But the public health announcements in Australia at the time did try to show people that it was a a whole of community issue, but
Mhm.
they were really, really terrifying ads, horrifying. So imagine being a young queer kid
Mm.
who wasn't yet open or even completely understanding of terms around sexuality and
Well, that's
sitting
the other
down and
thing that I was just gonna say, sorry, just that it was obviously that we're talking about a time before the internet, so it wasn't like
Mhm.
you had access to all of this information. If you grew up, it was very easy, and I certainly felt very isolated,
Yeah,
not knowing. I mean, it's ironic that my best friend at school, um, is now gay, but we didn't discuss any of it while we were at school. But I felt very isolated. I didn't know any other gay people. I
yeah,
didn't think I knew any other gay people. Um, and it wasn't, it was a time when you didn't have access to information. You couldn't go and anonymously search for stuff online or anything like that. So it was very, very, um, you felt so isolated. So I don't know
yeah.
if
And
that's your
also
experience. But,
for me, I had the added trauma or experience of it being illegal. And so
mm,
when I was 14, I started going to gay clubs, and there was a sense of being an outlaw because it was against the law. So it wasn't against the law to be gay, but it was against the law to be a practicing homosexual.
mm,
So I can remember being like harassed by the police, and the Queensland police at the time were notoriously corrupt and bigoted and racist. And the police would target us, and it was a scary time. And it really was that the general perception of gay people was we were inferior, or there was something wrong with us, or we were a little bit, yeah, not quite right. And I
mm.
can remember that was the narrative throughout my broader
Well,
family.
not quite right is probably the most pleasant of widespread attitudes. Like a lot of rhetoric at the time was that, gay people were like harborers of this horrible, disgusting disease, and like it was just absolutely
Yeah,
vile.
and
Um,
and I can remember the first time I ever heard about HIV or AIDS was I was sitting on my auntie's veranda, like deck, and a few of my family members were sitting around talking about, I mean, this was in the early 80s, and they were talking about how on the news there'd been a story about a gay cancer that
mm,
was affecting and killing people, killing gay men who had sex with, or men who had sex with other men. And I can remember, I don't know who was saying what or who was even there, but I can remember hearing the words spoken, "Oh, it serves them right," or "That's what they
mm.
get for being the way they are." And that,
Oh
as a
yeah.
young person, I would have been younger than 10. And the first, or, that's the first memory I have of HIV and AIDS being spoken about. And then
Mm,
a little while later, these ads of like the Grim Reaper bowling and knocking people over. And these, I mean, they were very, very dark TV adverts. And
mhm,
then, everything in the media after that, it was, and then like into the early 90s, we started getting, TV shows where they would have a special episode about AIDS, like even like Beverly Hills 90210 or Designing Women. There would
mhm,
be episodes of um, where the character one of the friends of somebody would have AIDS, but they'd be dead by the end of the episode. Like that was always the story arc.
Or a character would have a scare, but by the end of the episode, they'd get a negative HIV or AIDS test. So,
And never
yeah,
speak of it again.
yeah, yeah.
What TV shows in the UK growing up tried to do that storyline? Do you remember
I'm
any?
sure. I'm sure EastEnders did. I think I could be wrong, but I think it was Mark
Yeah,
Fowler, the
Mark
character.
Fowler. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think he got his diagnosis. He told people, and then I think the character just left
Oh, I
Wolford.
think he
I don't
left and
think
came back a few times, but
did he.
it I found that, and we've spoken about this before on the podcast. Sorry for regular listeners and
It's all right.
repetition.
Doesn't ever stop us.
But I think the Mark Fowler storyline was a bit more um, sensitively handled, and I think that says a lot for UK
Well,
soap operas, in that they
well,
often tried to come from a place of more social responsibility with their storylines.
and also, I mean, I could be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure that Mark Fowler, the character, was straight.
Yes, he was.
And so
Yeah.
it was like shocking in a way for a mainstream show to represent HIV and AIDS,
Hmm.
not within the gay community or the queer
Yeah.
community, to represent a straight cis man having HIV. So that was quite daring, I suppose. But another very strong memory from that time in terms of AIDS and HIV was in Madonna's "Like a Prayer" album, which I think was released in 1989. Could
Yeah.
be wrong, but inside the album, I had the CD and the vinyl, and there was a you can probably Google it and find a picture of it online, but there was a little sort of square light blue leaflet, and it was just talking about safe sex, about the importance of using protection, um, and I think for all of the shit we've said about Madonna over the last 99 episodes, I do think that that was an incredibly brave decision to make to include that. But also, I think she probably saved a lot of lives from by doing that. And I think we can drag her if we want to, but she has done a lot. But speaking of Madonna, have you watched the new little short film that she released?
Yes, I have. And before we talk about that, I would just say about Madonna and her AIDS how do you say it? Advocacy.
Mm,
She lost a lot of friends, and people she loved to HIV/AIDS, and
mhm.
including her best friends.
I
And
know.
she was always fiercely, fiercely outspoken
Mhm.
about HIV and AIDS, and being a champion for protecting that community. She has done
At
so.
at a time when it wasn't that. So, I mean, these days, I mean, every pop star's going on. Not every pop star, but a lot of pop stars are sort of jumping on that bandwagon, talking about their support for the queer community and blah blah blah. But Madonna was doing it at a time when it really
Yeah,
wasn't that accepted in
yeah,
mainstream society. So yeah, I
and
think
yeah,
she
she
was.
was very, very good friends with Keith Haring, the iconic pop artist who lost his life to AIDS, and her
Mhm.
friend Martin. How do you pronounce Martin's last name? Starts with B.
I don't know who we're talking about,
Like
Martin.
her best friend, like who died of AIDS. And
Not her dance teacher. Her dance
no,
teacher.
no, I think she may be also her dance teacher from college or school.
I think
Also,
he also died
but
from
so many people. I mean, she would have known probably hundreds of people around the 80s
yeah.
when she was coming up in New York who are
Mhm.
no longer alive because of AIDS. But yeah, flashing forward to 2026, and Madonna has released a long form music film which features snippets of 6 songs from her new album, Confessions 2. And should we describe it, or do you want to give your reaction to it?
Well, maybe I'll put the link in the show notes if you've not watched it. Maybe pause this, go and watch it if you want to. I mean, I actually quite enjoyed it. I have, as regular listeners, viewers will know, you and I have shared a lot of criticism about Madonna recently,
Yeah.
just about how nothing she was sort of doing, none of her artistic output really spoke to us, or we just found it very sort of pedestrian and trite and just a bit sort of lacking. But I actually thought a lot of those songs, the snippets that you hear, sounded really interesting to me. I mean, I don't know what you thought, but I thought I was expecting to like be like eye rolling and just be like, oh fucking hell, what is this? But I actually quite want to hear the new album now. I think it's worked very effectively. I wouldn't say I'm excited. I'm not saying like I've re-sparked my the the
Yeah.
f- the flames of my Madonna fandom or anything like that. But I am excited to hear the new album, having watched that video, and I thought it was good. What about you?
I'm not in the same boat as you. I'm not angry about it, but
I'm not angry about it.
yeah, yeah, I'm not upset, but
You're not going to go on a rampage about it.
yeah, I didn't get to the end of that film and think I want to hear any of those songs again. I'm not. I wouldn't be angry to hear them, like I said. Like I wouldn't be annoyed to hear them, but I didn't have a desire to say, "Hey, I want to hear more of that." It just didn't. It didn't ignite anything in me, or any. It didn't pique any curiosity. It was just okay. That exists. I did find it a little bit awkward, the video and how everybody is young and thin. It like the representation of the human body in the video, it felt very, very narrow and, beautiful people who are thin and
Mm. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for all of Gaga's faults, she does try now and then to have a little bit of diversity. Like in some of the music videos, there are
Well,
plus
let's
size people, and
let's not pitch Madonna and Gaga
well, I
against
was
each
going to go
other,
through
'cause
a
that would
list
be
of
quite reductive. But
well, I was going to go
um,
through a list of people, and I just started with Gaga, but
okay,
you know, but
yes,
but for Madonna this is one of the things I find problematic, and I mean, she doesn't owe me an answer, but all through her career, whatever age she is, the people around her on stage have stayed the same age bracket, and
hmm
they haven't grown up with her. Like the
it's like
dad.
that. It's like that Taylor Swift line. What is it? I get older, but your lovers stay my age, or something. Is that it?
I
Do you know what I'm talking about? What's that
no,
song? All too well.
I have no idea. I'm not a
Anyway,
Swiftie.
it's supposedly about Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, talking of that, talking of Swifties,
Hmm.
I was thinking about this the other day. Do Madonna fans have a name? Like there's Little Monsters for Lady Gaga, there's Swifties for
Ooh,
Taylor Swift fans, Beliebers for Justin Bieber fans. What other names for fan armies do you know?
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
like Ariana Grande, I think they're Arenators. Katy Perry has Katy Cats. Um,
what's wait, what's Beyonce?
the Beehive.
The Hive, yeah, the
The
Hive,
Hive, Beehive. Miley
yeah.
Cyrus, I think they're called Smilers. But, to
I
me,
don't, but I think Madonna fans existed before that phenomenon of having.
well, you think that it it was before that. I think it really came into sort of fruition around Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga were the first two
Mm,
groups like Beliebers and Little Monsters.
mhm.
But do you remember in the 80s, the media termed the coin wannabe to name Madonna fans?
No, I don't
And that's
remember
where the
that.
Spice Girls got the song title from.
Really?
Yeah, and so, I can remember, like, in the press, they would say 10,000 wannabes showed up to, see Madonna perform.
No, I don't
It's
remember that.
and and it was like because it was like young women would say, "I wanna be Madonna." And
Okay.
so if you Google it, it's probably not as well known now. I mean, if you were a Madonna fan and you
I
don't know
mean,
about
yeah,
it,
I was gonna say
but
I
I
was
can
a huge
remember it
Madonna
being
fan.
written and spoken about in the mainstream media. Like that was a known term
Okay.
that was used as a slightly derogatory term, like slightly condescending term to describe young women, especially who wanted to dress and act like Madonna.
Mm.
Um, and that's where whoever wrote that Spice Girls song or came up with that term, their first single, "Wannabe," that's was inspired by that. Um, I,
Oh
I,
yeah,
I don't think before that that was a well, a common phrase or a term
no,
until that was coined for the Madonna fans.
that went over my head surprisingly. Um, but I loved the not only that Debbie Mazar was in the video, but one of
Mm.
the songs actually name checks Debbie Mazar,
See,
which
that
I was like,
that to me sounded a little cheap and
I love it. I love it.
tacky.
I think it's a throwback to just a Madonna when she was to me she appeared cool and interesting. And yes, it was probably a very deliberately constructed reference to throw in. But I don't know. I think it works. I think
Well, so that
you
song you're
think of
referring to is called Danceteria, and that's a
okay,
reference to the famous club where she would hang out, Madonna would hang out, and where she first handed a cassette of her first song to the DJ Mark, what's his name?
Mark Jellybean.
No, no,
No, I know.
um,
Um,
Mark Kamen. Is it Mark Kamen or I forget his
no.
name. Anyway, Madonna fans, if you're listening, you're probably screaming on the inside that we can't get any of these references right. But
Hmm.
so she has a lyric about, oh, I handed my cassette to Mark, or look, there's Debbie Mazar. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, it's a little um hackneyed or like just a little,
Little cloying.
yeah, it's just very obvious. And I don't know.
Yes,
I
yeah,
don't
I'll
think
give
it's
you
cool.
that,
I
but
don't think
I
it's
just
cool.
well, I think you compare it to something like Madam X, or I don't know what else she's put out recently, but whatever I've listened to of hers over the last 5 to 10 years, I've been very, very instantly disinterested. It hasn't spoken to me at all. This, I thought the production and the songs sounded pretty good.
I got
And
I got in the car with our friend Amy here in Australia, and she was
mhm.
like pumping some of those songs, some of the new
Oh yeah.
songs, and she's going, "Oh my god, the new Madonna, it's amazing, I love it." And I was like, it's just I don't know. I think a lot of people are very keen to reconnect with Madonna because, like you said, over the past decade or so, a lot of people have just disconnected from the art or music that she's made. And so,
Mhm.
if there's a glimmer of old Madonna or something
Yeah.
that you recognize as a creative thread that you enjoyed,
Yeah.
you're very keen to latch onto it, you know?
It's still kind of I don't know what the word is. It still bothers me a little bit, I suppose, that she's not a bit more embracing of her age.
Yeah, well, that's the
Um,
problem for
but
me. Yeah.
that is, of course, absolutely her prerogative. I mean, I dye my beard. I'm not immune to the same pressure or expectation, or I don't even know if it's that. I'm not immune to the same feelings when you look in the mirror of being like, oh, I don't want to have all that grey in my beard.
Yeah.
Madonna is doing exactly the same, but on another
Yeah.
scale. But
But I don't
um,
think it's a problem that she does things that other people her age don't do. I think that's fine. I think it would be straight up ageism to tell her she can't do what she wants to do. But the
mm,
problem for me is that she surrounds herself with young people. So
yeah,
in a weird way, she's buying into the ageism that's being leveled at her.
well, yeah,
She,
yeah.
she could
Then
have,
then so am I. Then so am I.
yeah,
Although
but
I'm not a celebrity, but it's very contradictory. It's very hypocritical, I suppose, to level those criticisms at her when we are all in receipt, or we're all subjected to similar judgments. But in her case, it's on in like a massively increased scale than you
I
or
know, but
I.
you wouldn't get on stage and demand that everybody be between 20 and 25 who's near
Mm.
you.
But what I found interesting was that if you showed that video, that Madonna video, to an
Uh,
alien or somebody who had absolutely no idea who Madonna was, you wouldn't think, "Oh, that's a 60." What? How old is she?
she's
I know
almost
we
68. Yeah.
67-year-old woman because of all the effects, the filters, the surgery, whatever. like she is portrayed as a young woman in this video.
Mhm.
Like that, that's I'm sure was part of the directive that was given to the filmmakers, that she had to look young. Um, and that's a bit like, well, that's her prerogative, I guess. But
And
it
also,
just,
it does feel a little reductive, to use her famous phrase, that y she feels that she's in a position where she has to portray herself with that aesthetic to make that sort of music. You don't have to look a certain way to make dance pop or pop music or dance music. You could look however you want, and that would be more radical and impressive to me if somebody, not
mm,
to say that they look like an old person, but
mhm,
that they didn't try and aspire to the current standards of youth and beauty to sell a
mm.
product. Like if she just, there are other people, that older people who make dance music, or, like people like, I'm just trying to think, like, I mean, I know they wear masks and stuff, but people like Kraftwerk who, or like you look at like Deborah
Well,
Harry. I know she's had her own openness about cosmetic surgery and looking young, but to me, she has aged in the public eye more
well,
noticeably than Madonna.
I was gonna say maybe some people like the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
They still do exactly the same kind of music they've always done,
Mm.
um, but they have aged, and they don't
Yeah.
give a shit about that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
anyway,
they might.
I liked the new video from Madonna. It's actually made me interested to see what the new album is like. Um,
So
so we can discuss that
are you a
when it comes
wannabe
out.
again?
A Madonna bee.
Um, okay. Well, what's the I'm coming back to the UK in, I don't know, I'm
Yeah, when
leaving.
are you coming back?
Well, I arrive back on Tuesday. So I'm flying with an airline called China Eastern, the word
Hmm.
I've never heard about, but it was very cheap. So I'm hoping that the comfort level is acceptable.
I've heard of them. I think
Oh, you
people
have.
say they're okay.
But
Yeah.
it's from Brisbane to London with the stopover included. It's a 28-hour journey, and I'm not excited. I'm a bit tired, but what I am most worried about is what the weather is like when I get back. What's the weather going to
Well,
be
I
like?
think it's been pretty rotten until yesterday, and suddenly it's changed. It's back to like nice. It's not hot, but it's quite nice, sunny, warm weather. So I think you should be okay. It won't be too much of a shock coming back.
Okay.
Um, I We don't really have time to get into it now, but I had a bit of a nightmare journey back from Spain a few days ago,
Mhm.
which involved me getting home at 2:30 a.m. But just quickly, in the 2 minutes that we have left, what's your take, given that you've just flown long distances and you're about to do that again? What's your take on passenger etiquette on planes,
Well,
and in particular reference to giving children a device to watch a video without headphones, and also people not putting their devices in flight mode during the flight?
okay.
30 seconds on each, go.
I don't know what the difference of flight mode makes to safety or not. I'm not sure if that's a real thing or not.
Well, why would they ask you to do it if
I
it
don't
wasn't
know.
necessary?
I don't know. Maybe it's some old thing that's just stayed around.
Mm,
But one thing, do you know Elon Musk, by the way, is the world's first
no,
trillionaire?
never heard of him.
He's just been announced as the world's first trillionaire. But did you know he has that Wi-Fi that is satellite
Yes,
powered, called
Starlink.
Starlink?
Starlink. Yeah.
And Starlink is starting to do deals with airlines all around the world. And it's so much more affordable that some airlines are starting to offer free high speed Wi Fi to all passengers. But people on these flights are starting to report a lot more disruptive antisocial behavior because people are streaming things, having conference calls in the sky with not wearing headphones, having loud Zoom calls because it can handle that data exchange. And there's going to have to be policies put in place by airlines to stop people from doing this
I
sort of
mean,
thing.
the whole loudspeaker or lack of headphones isn't confined to aeroplanes. It's happening a lot on public transport and in public
Mhm.
spaces as well.
Yeah.
It's not unique to flying, but I don't know. I despair. I despair at people's behaviour. But anyway, sorry. But what about yeah, your flight from where did you go? London to Japan, then Japan to Australia. Was that?
Yeah. It
Do you
it
have
was
any incidents?
No, it was fine. The thing for me, and I know it's not very sensitive, is just the children on board who were noisy.
Mm,
I know it's not their fault and it's not the parents' fault, but it's just when you're in a plane for 14 hours in a confined space and there's a child that is either screaming or unhappy or in pain, maybe, or
mm,
bored, it is quite a trying situation. And especially the 9-hour flight from Tokyo to Brisbane, there were a lot of children. And
mm.
we flew with Jetstar, which is a budget carrier, and you had to pay for everything. Like, even if you wanted a blanket, you had to buy one for $15.
What?
All of the in-flight
That's
entertainment, you had
outrageous.
to pay. Like, you couldn't even play Bejeweled unless you paid for it on the screen. And all the
Outrageous.
food you had to pay for. I bought a bag of veggie chips for $5. Like, it was everything had to be paid for. So,
Outrageous.
yeah.
Outrageous. Well, we haven't got time now, so maybe next week when you're back in London, you can catch us up on all the vegan food in Japan, in Australia,
Mhm.
um, and tell us about that. And I could tell you a bit more about my time in Spain as well, and some
Yeah,
of
I'd
the
love to
vegan
hear
food I
about
had
that.
in Barcelona. But we should go. This is episode 99, so next week will be episode 100. And
Wow.
I know that seems bizarre.
Will it be
Um,
episode 100 or 100?
well, I know, just as I said, it was at 800, 100.
Funny.
But thank you for all of those who have joined us on this journey. Special shout out to Helen, to Theo, to Michelle, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, but thank you for sticking with us.
I actually don't
Um,
think you are missing any. I think there are
yeah, that
three
might be.
regular viewers.
Well, thank you to all three of you. Um, Anything else we need to add, Sue?
No, that's everything.
All
Until
right.
we meet again, I'm now in almost daylight behind me.
I
You
was
can
going
see
to
how
say,
much has changed.
Dawn's, forgive the sexual innuendo, but Dawn's crack is wide open now.
Yeah, dawn's broken all over the place. Okay. Right, well,
Well,
thanks for
folks,
joining us.
see you next week.
All right, bye.